Oh, sweetheart, this is pure fuel for the fire. If anyone still thinks Trump was the worst thing to happen to leadership, they need to have their heads examined. Here's your ballistic, full-throttle, no-holds-barred take. Oh, you think Trump was bad? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because this is what happens when the adults are in charge. 4 years of Trump, booming economy, energy independence, historic peace deals, borders that actually meant something, and gasp, Americans could afford to live. 4 years of these clowns, economic destruction, open borders, world war on the horizon, and cities turning into third world wastelands. But sure, let's keep pretending meme tweets were the biggest issue. Here's the truth. The only thing worse than Trump being in office is him not being in office.
My apologies for the slightly frivolous nature of the last video, where we were looking at people in the United States who of course weren't living to several hundred years old. But in the address President Trump gave to Congress, there were some incredibly serious points that we are going to now consider. And the implications for these points that he made are absolutely huge. We'll be evaluating how likely they are to be accurate or not. But the implications are big for the United States, obviously, but as data is unearthed, as principles are identified from the freedoms that we are hoping for in the United States, the applicability for world health is very significant, and it's really hard to overstate the importance of this to national health and global health. Let's get straight to the first clip.
I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization.
Well, that wasn't ambiguous, wasn't it? The President of the United States considers that the World Health Organization was corrupt. And of course, if an organization is corrupt, it's not going to be properly fulfilling the functions it was designed to carry out. And perhaps more importantly than this, withdrawing from the World Health Organization in the States, yes, great. It'll take away a big chunk of funding and make them think about what they spend, of course. But the potential to spend that money on a really, really good new global health organization is now there. And the implications from this, again, are potentially massive for the benefit of global health, as expertise is mobilized to work for this potential new organization. Let's look at the next clip.
DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Well, this relates to a boy called JD who wanted to be a police officer. In 2018, he was diagnosed with brain cancer. Thankfully, though, he's been treated and he's still with us nearly 6 years later. Now, the doctors, DJ's doctors, thought that this was caused by a chemical in the environment. Is this plausible? Yes, it is. Absolutely. We have a range of chemicals in the environment that can cause cancer. They're called carcinogens. We know this to be the case. Tar was the first one to be discovered. That's why they found the link between smoking and lung cancer. But there's many chemicals that are in our environment now, and we don't fully understand the full effects of them on the body, and many of these could be carcinogenic. We need to find out which are the carcinogenic chemicals and simply take them out of the environment. This is not rocket science. This can be done. Research can be done. Epidemiological research on cancer rates can be tied in with lab-based experimentation on carcinogenesis of particular substances. The two can be married together and firm conclusions can be reached. This can be done. Of course, it should be done.
Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong, 1 in 36, think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby, good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you.
These statistics are, of course, absolutely tragic. Since 1975, a 40% increase in childhood cancers. That is not going to be genetic change. That's too quick. It's got to be an environmental or range of environmental factors that's causing so much childhood cancer. Poisons and toxins need to be taken out of food. There needs to be regulation of agrochemicals. Now, this is a bit of a problem in the UK. Well, it is a problem in the UK, but it's a huge problem in the United States. Toxic chemicals are recognised. It's just a matter of legislation. Other things, it's ambiguous whether something's toxic or helpful. That needs to be analysed. And he also talks about Bobby Kennedy coming to the leadership role here. And I do know that he's already appointing some expert, brilliant people. Jay Bhattacharya, for example, I think is going to be, or nominated for National Institutes of Health. And other people of remarkably high calibre are being appointed who can do this research. And universities can be paid to do this research as well. Now, it's going to be a problem with universities because of some of the legacy staff that have been appointed for ideological reasons, but people can be appointed because they are scientifically brilliant, they are statistically brilliant, they are fantastic at computer modelling, or whatever it is. They can make molecules in computers. They can do the experiments, they can collect the epidemiology. The brilliant people are there, the expertise is there. It just needs to be ordered and facilitated and sorted out, and this can be done. I mean, 1 in 10,000 children suffering from autism in the past, now 1 in 36. If that's not an epidemic of autism, I don't know what it is. And again, not genetic, like the cancer. This has got to be environmental factors or ranges or interplays of environmental factors. We can work out what this is. This can be done. And of course, it should be done as a matter of urgency. And the information that's gained from the United States will benefit the entire world. This is a real opportunity to improve global health.
My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology.
Well, who can argue with the axiomatic foundations of civilization? That child protection has to be facilitated and child abuse has to be stopped. Now, in the United States, if you're watching in the States, you enjoy something called the First Amendment. In the United Kingdom, we do not have a First Amendment, unfortunately. And my perception is that freedom of speech is limited in the UK at the moment, so I can't comment further on that. But if you've got to this point in the video, I'm glad that you've listened to the views of the President of the United States on this particular subject area.
I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Well, my one-word response to that would be Amen. There is so much pressure on children these days through internet things and artificial intelligently enhanced pictures and photographs to be something that they're not, and this causes genuine distress, it causes mental illness, it causes suicide.
Here I do have to interject for a second, because I remember when the problem was teen magazines, before the Internet of Things. And then before that, it was music that was making kids crazy. All that rock and roll and shaking and moving. There's always something to blame. So let's quit blaming and understand that things change in each generation. And that is not rocket science.
It's indeed tragic. Childhood and youth, as far as possible, should be times where people are free from the cares of this life. Because as older people know, plenty will come after.
And I've stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
Government censorship? That couldn't happen in the United Kingdom, could it? Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe we could do with one of these.
This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward.
Well, just a few clips there from that speech and implications for national health and global health. And I hope you can see the way that those things are intertwined. That the freedom of speech is essential if we're to have open and free debate, because at the moment, at least in the UK, it's restricted, which is tragic. We need a scientific dialectic. Argument, counter-argument, conclusion. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Interesting times to come, but for now, thank you for watching.